I am really looking forward to this conversation on the Healthy Over 50 podcast. Today, I'm sitting down with Ebru, who spent 28 years in finance in high pressure, high performance environments before making a big and very intentional shift into psychotherapy. Now she's based in Dublin. She works with professionals dealing with stress, burnout, and those bigger, what am I doing this for type of questions. What I love about her story is that she hasn't walked away from her past, she builds on it. So she brings both real corporate experience and deep psychological insights into the work she does today. Today, we're talking about career transitions and starting again, the hidden cost of high performance, how stress shows up in the body, and why your 50s might actually be a second spring. If you ever thought, is this it? Or is it too late to change? This one will definitely resonate. But remember, it's about your health, it's about your performance, and maybe it's about your next chapter. Ebru, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Thank you, Lilian. It's really wonderful to have this chance to chat with you on these topics, which are close to my heart. And I'm delighted to be on the podcast, Healthy Over 50. Yeah,
Yeah,
looking
well,
forward
thank
to our
you.
chat.
That is great to have you. I love to have since I feel like I'm close to 50 myself, I just love to have conversation, those type of conversations, because we know change is the only constant. So it's really nice to have those conversations. But anyway, I know you, but not everybody does. So I just want to give you a chance maybe to introduce yourself, maybe in 1 minute.
My name is Ebru Nuhoglu Reilly. I'm originally from Turkey and I've been living in Dublin for more than 20 years. And in a way, as you can see, Turkey and Dublin, they are at the edges of Europe. And I really feel connected to both places deeply. And in a way, I feel like a bridge myself. I like the metaphor of bridge, holding two sides. I'm 52, so and yeah, like this is an important decade, and I'm hoping this will be like a second spring for me. So that's the framing I have when I enter into my 50s. I'm married to an Irish guy, and I'm lucky because we share a lot of common hobbies and our perspective on the world. And like you said, I did. I am going through a big transition. I worked in financial companies and volunteered for some volunteer organizations for more than 28 years. And recently I qualified as a psychotherapist, and now I'm running my private practice as well as volunteer for a community development center as a psychotherapist. So, and I feel very grateful to now work in a field which is close to my heart and also build from all of my experience to leverage from all of them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And actually, I'm super excited to have the conversation with you today because obviously you had a successful career in finance. And I'm just really curious to know, like, what did it give you?
It gave me so many things. Like I started at a big Turkish bank, and it gave me a sense of purpose, the way of working in a concentrated way, working on projects, and build relationships with stakeholders and teammates. That was a very precious side of it for me. It also gave me a lot of opportunities. Like I had a chance to get a scholarship from Banks Association of Turkey, go and study, do my master's in Glasgow in early 2000s. And in 2003, it was again my job who brought me to Dublin. as I was the coordinator of the subsidiary of the Turkish bank. So I'm really grateful for all of these opportunities. And also over the years, like I built many of my professional skills because of all the kind of dynamic projects we have built on, and it ranged from risk to governance, sustainable finance, which is really close to my heart, and product management. And maybe I want to underline that sustainable finance bit, a little. Like it's about looking at finance in a holistic way, not just looking at the what is the financial gain, but looking at what is the environmental, social, and governance impact and taking it all in. And that really kind of resonated with me deeply. And it's interesting, that was a topic that I wrote my dissertation early in 2000 about corporate social responsibility. And one of my teachers, my professor, told me this is a niche area, and the only way it will become a reality is if there is a regulation introduced. So for me, it was very interesting a couple of years ago when such a regulation was introduced to see how the financial companies adapted it and see an evolution and a change happen in a very conservative sector. And that was very beautiful and a great learning for me as an example of change at the systemic level.
Yeah, I love it. So change is obviously everywhere. So you had a successful career, but one wonders like, obviously something was not working, at least internally for you. Can you tell us more?
Right, like in a way, while I had a lot of good experiences over the 28 years, and everything seemed fine from outside, like I was successful, doing well, etc. But also in parallel, something wasn't going well inside at a more quiet way. Like what I mean is, like I noticed that maybe I was pushing myself a bit too hard because I had a high sense of responsibility. And as I studied psychotherapy, which I started in 2020, I noticed some traits, some of my patterns, like I was almost like a workaholic, giving a lot of importance to the external pressures at work and wanted to deliver them in a perfect way. So I was also a perfectionist. And these were actually the traits that gave me success earlier in my career and opened up the doors and opportunities. But over the years, as I was trying to do more and more, I started to let something slip. Let's say I maybe started to not take care of myself, like going to do some exercise or self-care, etc., thinking I could catch up. But all of these things were building up. So in a way, like while I was being continuing to be successful on the outside, there I was noticing a cost happening internally.
Wow, and that sounds very familiar to me because I talk a lot about what I call toxic resilience. And that sometimes, people that are successful on the outside, on the inside, it's something completely different, and they start to be exhausted, and people don't have a clue actually at work because everybody sees you overachieving. Uh, in the world of tech sales that I come from, we talk, like you hit your targets, you go to President Club, everything looks great. So everybody thinks like you feel amazing, you look amazing, life is super good. So obviously, you just mentioned stress, right? Uh, Was there a burnout, or like did stress play a big role in the change, or?
Yeah, that's it. Like, in a way, my attention was also on getting things done to a good quality, etc., without considering what it was costing me, if whether I was maybe sometimes overriding my tiredness, etc. So, in a way, I started to notice that I was burning out after a big project, or quietly I was kind of giving up doing things like going to the gym or doing things that I like because I didn't have enough time. And but mostly it's when I started to do psychotherapy and reflective exercises, I started to notice that in a way, like when I learned about nervous system regulation, I started to notice that sometimes I was working as if I was under threat, trying to deliver too much without considering whether I was resourced enough. And over time, that takes its toll on the body. Like maybe you are familiar with this famous book called The Body Keeps the Score. So I would have some, let's say, physical, even symptoms like backache or digestive problems. Again, I wouldn't connect it to the way I was maybe overriding some signs from myself and keep pushing myself. But once I realized, like in the last 4 or 5 years, once I realized my own pattern that I can be perfectionist and push myself too hard, that actually allowed me to pause whenever that pattern was going to show itself at work. I was able to pause and notice, that's my perfectionist side. That's my workaholic side. And that gave me the chance to soften it at work and also consciously introduce, even if I was busy, making sure I took care of myself, like going to swimming during lunchtime twice a week or going to yoga. And that way of working in my last years after this awareness arose
Mhm.
actually enabled me to move to a more sustainable way of working. Like, in a way, I was taking care of the cost to myself. And when I kind of softened, I realized maybe I was actually bringing more space in the team. And like my teammates also felt it, this change.
Oh, that's great. And maybe you inspired people, obviously. But kudos to you for having that awareness, because I speak with other women, and some of them, one that I'm speaking to is like in her late 50s, as at a very high level, and she's starting to have like possibly like an autoimmune disease. Really, like this is all stress over the years of what I call toxic resilience, of pushing, pushing, not sleeping, working through the weekend, and not listening to her body and not having that awareness, because a lot of the time we are on autopilot and eyes on the prize always, and it's like we neglect ourselves. But the worst is, like, it seems like we can't hear the messages that the body is sending us, and sometimes that noise has to be super loud for us to hear. Unfortunately, sometimes when it's so loud, internal damages have been unfortunately made. So like really well done you for having that ability to wake up, and just catch yourself. Another question would be like, what made you finally take the leap? Because I know myself, like I wanted to make the leap, but it took me a bit of time because there is fear. It's a big change. Like you've worked in the same field for all those years, and you've built expertise, you have credibility, and the idea of just starting over, What made you finally take that leap?
Yeah. You know, like that was kind of gradual, happening in parallel to my kind of work life in finance. But at the same time, there was a event that caused that sleep. So the gradual pieces, I was always interested in human relations or how to live a more meaningful life. And I would always, in terms of hobbies, take classes or do short courses over the years since my early 20s. And the biggest one was when lockdown happened. I was 46, and it in a way introduced a change into all of our working life. And that's in that time I discovered there's a course, Masters in Humanistic and Integrative Psychotherapy. And it really appealed to me. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm 46. It's 4 years. So when I finish, I'll be 50. That would give me a good chance if I want to change it, because this is a topic I really like, to have that option. And in the worst case, I can just do it for myself because I also love learning. So that's how I started to do my master's in psychotherapy. And I'm really glad that I took the decision. So, in a way, this is the gradual thing that I was preparing in parallel. But, unfortunately, about 1.5 years ago, I lost my father due to a tragic accident. Uh, it was carbon monoxide poisoning in our family home in Turkey. And it was, of course, very sudden and very tragic. In the same accident, my mother and my brother were also seriously injured, but fortunately, they were able to recover after a short stay in the hospital. So that was a big change for me, of course. And in a way, even with that tragedy, my colleagues at work really supported me. And I continued to work for about 6 months. But at some point, I realized like I needed to take time for myself to process this grief with my family. And that's why I decided to resign. And what I did was first spend some time with my family in Turkey. And then we were able to do something meaningful for us. Like we wrote a book in memory of my father. And
Wow,
then,
that's amazing.
yeah, that was a really nice way to kind of process it all together. Uh, and another thing we started was a public health project. As a family, we kicked off a, a carbon monoxide poisoning prevention project, hoping to kind of bring what we learned from this unfortunate event as a kind of a health promotion project and hopefully increase awareness about this. So I'm really glad about that. And then I decided, okay, it's time for me to do my work, to design my work in a way that suits me, which will allow me to work more closely with my own values. That's how I started to set up my own private practice. At the same time, I'm volunteering for, as I said, community center. And also part of my time is now allocated to this public health project, which is again close to my home.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really powerful that the project around health, what you're doing, it's super generous. Like something that causes you a lot of pain and suffering, that you're transforming that into kind of a gift to help others, just to avoid accidents. So that's super powerful. That's not only beautiful, but that's powerful as well, and super inspiring. This is how you transform energy into something very positive. So that's quite amazing. Obviously, when comes change, there is always fear potentially because change is not easy. Career change. Could you touch maybe on the potential fears or
Yeah,
because some people listening might have similar ones, I suspect. So
yeah,
might be
that's
super
so
helpful.
true. Like on the one hand, I'm really like um, feeling more alive because I'm doing something totally new, which is really aligned to what I want to do and like all these possibilities. It's such an amazing source of energy. At the same time, I'm really getting out of what I was used to for almost 30 years, where I had a lot of security in terms of financial security or the things I knew how to work in a certain environment, etc. So it's a huge change. Like one simple example is I used to work in the background, like I would work on projects, reports, etc., but I would be shy to, let's say, present them. That wasn't my strong point. But like we are doing now I'm becoming more visible. And yeah, part of me is kind of anxious about it. I'm not used to it, but part of me is feeling more alive and I'm almost feeling more full of myself. Like I'm feeling myself more fully. I'm discovering parts that were not in the foreground. And this is very exciting. And there are two kind of quotes that sometimes help me. One is it's the name of a famous book as well. Feel the fear, but do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot the writer now. And the other one is like, and this is something I heard years ago from my yoga teacher in a workshop. Like when the cost of staying as a bud is bigger than the risk of it blossoming, then you make the change. And like basically that's the process I am in at the moment. I'm getting out of my comfort zone. Scary at first, but it also gives an incredible energy. And that way, I think it's expanding. Yeah.
Yeah, because what you said, what I heard you say, and at least a couple of times, is you said energy. So this is energizing, obviously. You said it's aligned with your values, so you're more connected to who you are. And I'd say maybe energy comes from interacting with people, because as
Yeah.
a psychotherapist, obviously, you're helping others. So I can hear and feel the meaning there. Um, Now, there's an obvious question that one would ask, why psychotherapy? Why you didn't become a coach? Why I don't know, you didn't decide to create a charity? Like, why psychotherapy?
I was always interested in psychology, philosophy, and arts from my early teens. And like what happened is I also discovered yoga, breathing, tai chi, etc. in my 30s, all these ancient traditions. And like in a way, I found myself studying more and more psychotherapy. Like first I started with logotherapy, Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning. I did a 2 year course on it. I think it was in 2017. And then this course came in psychotherapy, and so I completed it. And I guess I'm really interested in the human stories, what makes us human, and the incredible resilience of people. Even though there could be very challenging situations, there's also incredible resilience and resources. And I just love, like, really being curious about these questions. And another question is about meaning. How do we create more meaning for our lives so that, like, it's so that we know why we are here? And it is energizing, I think, when we work more aligned with our own values. It brings a sense of aliveness. And yeah, that's why I am choosing psychotherapy at the moment. And also, one other thing I want to say is it's very interesting to work one on one in psychotherapy, but I'm also interested in any other sportive things such as coaching or I don't know, yoga, tai chi, etc. Like I think all of that complement each other. And the important thing is for humans, for us to be curious about how we are living our life, to be wondering, is there something we are not bringing more to the front? And how can we bring this change in our lives? And so I'm also interested in creating that kind of an ecosystem and exploring all those complementaries.
How has your definition of success changed? I mean, has it changed? And if so, how?
Yeah, like that's a really good question. And yes, definition of success has changed. Initially, it was more about external indicators and hitting the targets or delivering the project or getting a promotion, these kind of things. Whereas once I immersed myself more in psychotherapy in the last 5 years, I expanded that definition to also look at the cost or look at what's happening internally, like assessing like how am I still taking care of myself sufficiently? How am I nourishing myself? Or is what I'm doing in line with my own values? So it became from just external to both considering external and internal. And we talked about sustainability before. So it's now more about looking at the whole system, not just looking at what is expected of me, but also considering what is the cost to me and how can I do it in a way where I don't get burnt out or depleted.
Wow. So yeah, like a beautiful shift from more like external to internal. Um, can I ask you, like, how would you, and I'm not asking for a metric, but when you're looking at your internal success, what are the specific things that would tell you, okay, I'm actually progressing, I'm in the right direction? Um, I mean, I know for me it's very strange, but when I was working in tech, I was super busy. I had no time. So my ability to say, for instance, I've been to the gym 5 to 6 times this week, for me, it's a sign of success because I'm actually looking after my physical body. Obviously, as a health coach, women's health, I practice what I preach. So for me, this is a sign, just the ability to execute on those things that are part of my values is to me already being successful. Success doesn't have to be complicated, can be very simple somehow. So what are the things like, could you give us maybe one or two examples of things that you would be like, okay, I've done this, or like this is, I'm being successful in a whole different way.
I guess it's again learning to listen to myself, look at myself in a more holistic way. Let's say previously I would just concentrate on getting things done, but now it's actually making sure that there is a balance in my life, like you said. For example, for me, it's I get a lot of kind of energy from going to my yin yoga class. That's a really good practice for me to be able to listen to myself and to have that kind of connection points. And when I know that it's good for me, making sure that I do it on a consistent way. Or another thing I discovered was similarly going swimming, especially during lunchtime, twice a week in my last few years at the office. And that was another way of, again, bringing kind of sense of rest to my system. But Another way we can look at it is now that I'm more familiar with nervous system regulation. Like it's a way of tuning in and noticing, am I doing it because I'm kind of anxious or in a defensive state of fight or flight? Or as I'm doing it, do I still feel connected to myself or to the other people? But I'm doing this with a bit of excitement, just taking a moment to ground myself.
Okay, so what does your career in finance has taught you maybe that you're using today?
Like, as I said, I learned so much from this experience. One of the top things is building relationships with my teammates, stakeholders, etc. Another one is work on projects, how to manage projects. And this I'm really using currently, especially as I'm setting up my practice, but also in this public health project we have started. And also, overall, all of this experience, my reflection on it, gives me a chance to be kind of more sensitive to my clients who can come with a similar experience, like looking like everything works on the outside externally, but quietly inside something is out of balance or off. So this is something where I feel also connected.
Wow. And what patterns do you see in obviously high achieving professionals that concern you? Because obviously we've been there, I've been there too, and we unfortunately know more and more people that are facing those type of situations. It's almost like a pandemic almost. So can you maybe tell us what's your take on that? And
Yeah, like, first of all, everyone is individual, so each pattern will be different for that person. But there are some general things that I can see, especially from the lens of nervous system regulation. Like, based on this model, like when as humans we feel under threat, we just tend to act defensively, either in the sympathetic way where it's fight or flight, or in a parasympathetic way where we are freezing, folding, collapsing. Like in contrast to this, when we are feeling safe or connected, we can face things or we can feel that we can kind of have the excitement of the sympathetic energy, but do it in a playful way or things flow more easily. To be honest, like corporates, they are stressful environments. There are a lot of deadlines, one thing coming in front of the other, and many people are juggling things at the same time. So we also affect each other. And like, therefore, from the lens of nervous system regulation, I can say, like, when we are feeling under threat, we can react from a kind of a defensive place of fight, flight, freeze, collapse. And these things are actually help us survive the moment, but it also means we are acting from a more diminished place, not our full selves. And also we kind of influence each other. So I guess these would be the main things I see. And another thing could be looking from the lens of logotherapy, existential psychotherapy, the questions of meaning, like taking stock, uh, is how I'm working, is what I'm working on in line with my values. How can I bring more of my full self to the work I do?
wow, that's super powerful. And on the obviously parasympathetic and sympathetic, like nervous system side of things, there is so much to say. Like there is the impact on the brain, how it's actually affecting the brain, and how the different parts of the brain are switch on and switch off. We can talk about the reptilian brain, all of those things. And I think you and I need to talk more about those
Would love
topics,
that.
talk about the nervous system. I
Yeah.
love what you said when you said just having that awareness of how other people are affecting and the fact that
Mhm.
we affect each other, which means that sometimes have more patience for people, just have more compassion, understanding that people are stressed as we have been or could be. So this is
Absolutely.
super powerful because we can't really change necessarily the places around us, but we can change the way we choose to operate, whether we are reacting or choosing a response. But for that, we need to go inwards first to then go outwards. So that's super, super, super powerful.
Mm.
I really, really, really want to say that I appreciate you so much, Ebru, for taking the time to have that conversation. I know it's not an easy exercise. Um, and,
Yeah.
and as we wrap this conversation, one thing really stands out, which is that change is always coming. And doesn't have to break us apart. We can actually understand ourselves even better. That could be an opportunity for going in and understanding ourselves better, understanding, getting more insights about ourselves, and then do better. Because once we know better, we always do better. So I just hope that for anybody out there listening to the conversation today, if it really sparks something for you, please do share this video with other people that might be inspired. And really, what I want everybody to stay with is that we all may be 50 or close to 50 or over 50. It's not the end of the world. We still have so many things to do. And as Ebru said, it might just be our second spring. So we just have to have that mindset. So, Ebru, can you share maybe where people can find you? I'll add it to the video, but if you can maybe tell us how we can get in touch with you, how people can find you.
And first of all, thank you very much for your closing parts. It resonates closely with me. And I also want to say, like, this is actually a good age. I feel like as I'm getting older, I feel more comfortable under my own skin. And we have all this life experience. And now, wherever we are, we can pause, take a moment, and take stock and see how we are doing, what needs our attention now. How would we bring more of ourselves into the world now? And that's a very precious place to be. And yeah, like Ebru Nuhoglu Reilly is my name, and my practice is called Noah's Ark Psychotherapy. So I have a website, and that's where people can find me. And thank you, Lillian, for this lovely chat.
Well, thank you so much. And I just want to finish with this quickly, just a last word for everybody. At the end of the day, it's our life, it's our health, it's our wealth, and we need to have more conversations like the one we had today, where we can kind of bridge the gap between the workplace and health and performance. We need to think about ways to perform. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So as adults and high performers, we need to come up with other strategies where we are managing our physical and mental health. So yeah, thank you very much, and hope to see you guys in the next one. Thank you, Ebru. À
Thank
bientôt.
you. Take care.